What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but with the NFL season officially ending with the Super Bowl being played last night as I'm recording this, today we're going to be going over some quarterbacks that have played throughout the entirety of the season. I don't know what the criteria is for this. I just found a tier list on TierMaker, and I'm judging them, the quarterbacks that are on this in this tier list. I just want to say that the Super Bowl this year I thought was pretty decent. I know a lot of people were talking about how it was shit, but I kind of expected to see Seattle beat New England pretty easily because, to be honest, New England was never really tested throughout the entirety of the season and the postseason because they kept getting lucky as shit, as I earlier discussed in my previous video. But I did think that the game was going to be a bit more, even more dominant and more higher scoring than it was. I wasn't expecting the Patriots defense to do so well against the Seattle offense. But with all that being said, I have the tier list popped up right here. We're going to be going over all these quarterbacks. I think there's like 58. Yeah, there's 58 quarterbacks in this tier list. I'm just going to go on. First, I'm going to go like with some of the obvious ones, and then I'll go into more of the like fucking Carson Wentz is on here. I don't really have much opinion on Carson fucking Wentz, or even remember what he even did this season. But starting off with Josh Allen, a quarterback that I think has pretty much throughout his entirety of his season of his career, I mean, has done extremely well. I do think that this is kind of a hot take, at least from what I've noticed, is that I don't think Josh Allen deserved to win MVP of the year he did. I think Lamar Jackson had a way better season that year, but we're not talking about that season. We're talking about this season. Had his best chance in probably his entire career to make a Super Bowl and was unable to do it. He faltered to the Broncos defense and honestly played a pretty fucking bad game. 4 interceptions and a couple fumbles, or maybe it was 3 interceptions. Either way, it was a fucking terrible game. Caused a lot of turnovers, and the main factor and the reason why his team lost in the divisional round to the Broncos was because of his playing. He didn't play well, and he got burnt for it. But overall, I'd say I'll give him an A tier. Would have been S if he had at least made it to the conference championship. Joe Burrow, really hard to say because he was injured, but I think even in the games he did come back in, he wasn't like super crazy. Let me just go ahead and pull up his stats real fast. Yeah, just looking at his stats here, he played in 8 games, so less than half the season. Won 5 of those games, where he threw 17 touchdowns to 5 interceptions on a 66.8 completion percentage and 1,800 yards passing. Honestly, not terrible statistics. I did think that he played a bit worse than that. Had he played the entire season, maybe the Cincinnati Bengals had a chance to win the AFC North because they were absolutely terrible this year in terms of the division strength. I mean, fucking, I just feel like there's no good teams. Lamar Jackson was hurt for a lot of the season. The Steelers weren't playing good, and of course, the Browns were beating the Browns. But overall, I think he did pretty good. Like I said, 17 touchdowns to 5 interceptions is nothing terrible. But he did have a game here against the Ravens where he threw for 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, which is pretty bad. But his completion percentage, pretty solid. It's just hard to judge based off someone who's only played in 8 games. But I think he did pretty decent. Not really up to par with what he's used to, but I'll go ahead and give him a C tier. But ultimately didn't change the outcome of his team missing the playoffs and all that. Next up, we have Kirk Cousins, who's just sitting on the fucking um, Falcons and just absolutely doing nothing, just eating up money, the fucking Falcons cap space because for some reason they signed him only to play backup to Michael Penix Jr. We'll go ahead and see what his stats look like as well, because I can't really remember off the top of my head. Kirk Cousins in the regular season played 10 games, threw 10 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, which is worse than what Joe Burrow did in 2 less games. So keep that in mind, by the way. Had a worse completion percentage than Joe Burrow, slightly less or about the same yards as Joe Burrow, same amount of interceptions to 10 touchdowns. Yeah, did have 1 touchdown on the ground on one attempt really. It says they had 14 attempts, but I think it's including sacks. So overall, not a great season. He has a massive contract from what I remember after the Falcons acquired him, and really hasn't been utilized very well. I mean, he only won half his games in a schedule that doesn't even look that complicated. I mean, hell, he lost to the New York Jets on the road, so I don't really. I mean, you're automatically not A tier if you're losing to the fucking Jets this season with a team that had fucking zero interceptions the entirety of the season. So yeah, overall, I mean, if Joe Burrow's a C, this guy's a tier below because he played in more games and performed worse than Joe Burrow, D tier, and he has a massive contract. Next up is Jaden Daniels, who unfortunately was battling injury throughout the entirety of the season. He came off a spectacular rookie season where he was almost the youngest quarterback to ever start in a Super Bowl, but unfortunately lost to the Eagles in the conference championship. I was really rooting for the Commanders to make that Super Bowl, but this year fought through injuries for the majority of the season and killed his stats. And even when he was playing, I really felt like it wouldn't have mattered because he wasn't even playing that great. Let me go ahead and pull up his statistics as well. So in the 2025 regular season, Jaden Daniels only started in 7 games, or even played in 7 games, was 2-5 in those games, only won 2 games, and it was against the Giants and the Chargers. The Chargers is a pretty good win because that ended up being a playoff team, and the only reason they weren't able to go further in the playoffs was because they had literally a terrible O-line and just battled injuries. The Giants, though, was something to be expected. Lost to Green Bay in week 2, lost to Chicago in a pretty close game, lost to Dallas in a fucking blowout, and got fucking hornswoggled by the Minnesota Vikings, who were also a pretty fucking terrible team. Didn't score a single point and gave up 31 in that game. And Jaden Daniels played that game. Like I said, he does have a pretty good touchdown to interception ratio, only throwing 3 interceptions in his games and throwing 8 touchdowns. Obviously, not too bad. He even rushed for 2, so he has 10 all purpose touchdowns, but a pretty low completion percentage with only 60. And just coming off his amazing rookie campaign where he was easily the rookie of the year that year, had a spectacular game, had people thinking that this was going to be the guy, and then come this season, battling injuries, now where people are saying, oh, he's going to be Robert Griffin III 2.0, and it's really looking like that unless he can bounce back in his 3rd year and just prove everybody wrong. People are going to have a scrying eye at this guy for the rest of his career. But this season, like I said, was a huge step back, not only for Jaden Daniels himself, but for the team because they ended up going only 2-15, or 5. They went 5-12 this year, missed the playoffs completely. Was one of the worst teams in the division. The only team that was worse than them was the fucking Giants, and they were having their own issues as well. But team suffered because Jaden Daniels suffered. He battled injuries, but like I said, even when he was in the game, he wasn't doing enough to win games. He only won 2 of the games he was starting in. So overall, I think Jaden Daniels is unfortunately going to be dropped to D tier as well because you gotta win games. I think his stats were okay, but you gotta win the games, man. Next up is Sam Darnold, our NFL Super Bowl winning quarterback, coming off a spectacular season where he was pretty turnover prone. But I think overall he did really good. Had the best receiver in the league by far this year with Jackson Smith-Njigba, so it definitely does help. And Kenneth Walker was running the ball with really good efficiency this year, which really allowed him to have a balanced attack. But he got it done. He won 14 games in the hardest division in football this year, again with the NFC West. 3 teams made the playoffs, and 2 NFC West teams was in the conference championship. By far, in my opinion, the hardest division this season, and he got it done. I was expecting another Minnesota Vikings situation where he was going to go in the playoffs and he's going to play terrible, but never threw an interception, never made a costly mistake in the entirety of his postseason, in the postseason this year. And he had a few close ones in the Super Bowl from my recollection, but he never ended up throwing an interception. He put the ball where it needed to be, and he did enough to win the games against the Rams or 49ers, which was a blowout win. The Rams, which was a pretty good win. He kept it competitive to the end, which allowed them to win. And a good game against the Patriots. But like I said, the Patriots I felt like was a team that really didn't deserve to be there, in my opinion. But overall, man, can't hate on him. I don't know his exact stats, but he was he wasn't in contention for the MVP in my opinion because of his turnovers, but Overall, I think he had a really good season, good completion percentage, a lot of touchdowns, and won the Super Bowl. Got to give him A tier. Not quite S because, in my opinion, he didn't play well enough. Jackson Dart. Not really sure about his stats, but I know he did pretty well for a rookie this year, but still didn't win the Rookie of the Year. Let me go ahead and pull up his stats. So Jackson Dart obviously replacing Russell Wilson in the season. I forgot what week it was, but he played in 14 games, only won 4 of them, threw for 15 touchdowns to 5 interceptions with a 63.7 completion percentage. He also rushed for 9 touchdowns, so that gives him 24 all-purpose touchdowns, but he also lost 2 fumbles and fumbled the ball 5 times. But from what I recall, I wasn't really watching much of the Giants football because I knew that they weren't making the postseason. I mean, look at their record. Even with Jackson Dart and Russell Wilson wasn't playing much better and wasn't really winning games either. But he was very injury prone. Kept getting going into the blue tent with concussions. He'd get cleared and you'd come back into the game, and that doesn't really bode well for a guy who plays pretty aggressively when he runs the ball. And I think that's the reason why he had so many fumbles and concussion protocol. But overall, I think he had a pretty decent season. I mean, this is on par with like Joe Burrow without the fumbles and more touchdowns on the ground. I mean, uh, slightly either similar or slightly less completion percentage, 15 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, 9 touchdowns on the ground. Overall, other than not winning very many games, I thought Jackson Dart pretty decent for a rookie campaign. And like I said, he had to play a lot of games behind Russell Wilson because they kept interchanging, especially early on here. Which honestly, you can't really blame these 2 losses on Jackson Dart, but just wasn't able to get it done throughout the season. And maybe with him and Cam Scatabo coming back next season, they'll be able to pull something together. Maybe have, you know, maybe not a playoff team, but at least a team that has a chance to make it. You know what I mean? But overall, I'm going to give Jackson Dart. Okay, I'm going to give Jackson Dart a C tier along with Joe Burrow. All right, next up we have Joe Flacco, who bounced from between 2 teams this year, which was the Cleveland Browns and I believe the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he started out the Cincinnati Bengals after Joe Burrow got hurt, but then once he was about to get better, they went ahead and sent him to the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Joe Flacco has been around for a long time. I think he was either the second or the oldest player in the league this year. You know, he's around the same age as Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, he doesn't have that longevity like Aaron Rodgers does. Let's go ahead and see if we can find him. I know he finished the season on the Cleveland Browns, but he's played for a while. He played on with 4 games with Cleveland. Started all 4 of those games, and then he's transferred to Cincinnati later in the season. So I got it backwards. Yeah, we'll go ahead and look at his two uh, two different teams and compare the stats. So he went and got 15 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Not great. 2,400 yards and a 60% completion percentage, which is pretty either like middle of the road or kind of leaning towards bad. Took 18 sacks and ran for a touchdown. So had a total of 16 total touchdowns, which isn't great considering that he played in quite a few games here and ended up having a 4-9 record throughout. I mean, he played in 4 plus, he played in 17 games, if I'm not mistaken here, and he only ended up getting 15 touchdowns, which you look at Joe Burrow, he played significantly less games, and he had more touchdowns than he did with the same offense as him because he played for Cincinnati for a decent portion of those games and 9 of those games. So played in 13 games and didn't really win many and didn't really have that great stats. He's washed up. This might even be his last season. He's been playing. He is an NFL. He is a Super Bowl champion, but not someone who you'd really think um, led them to those wins. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a D tier, below Jaden Daniels even. Next up, I believe this is Justin Fields. I don't really know what this motherfucker looks like, so we're going to hop on the Jets thing and see if this is him. Yeah, that is definitely Justin Fields. This is his first season with the New York Jets and his first season with the New York Jets and his 5th season of his career. And from what I remember, he didn't really do that well. Well, he only threw one interception, which isn't bad, but a 62% completion percentage. Didn't win it more than the games he lost. He also only fumbled 4 times, but lost 3 of those fumbles. So he caused 4 different turnovers to 7 touchdowns or um, 11 total touchdowns. Didn't really turn the ball over very much in terms of throwing the ball, but there was a lot of games that he didn't even score a touchdown in, and this game against Buffalo was absolutely atrocious, going for 3 for 11, 0 touchdowns, only 27 yards. I don't know if he came in that game or if he started the whole game or got injured. I don't know what happened there. But 9 games he started for the New York Jets. He only won 2 of those games, which his defense was not helping them. Like I said, the defense was literally historically one of the worst, if not the worst defense of all time. 0 recorded interceptions, which has never been done in the existence of the stat. But we're talking about Justin Fields here. Honestly, his stats don't look terrible, but in 9 games, you're only throwing 7 interceptions. That's less, or 7 touchdowns, that's obviously, if you know how to do fucking math, that's less. He's averaging less than 1 touchdown per game through the air. That's pretty fucking bad. Justin Fields, you're going in F tier, man. Jared Goff. Jared Goff. Coming into the season, leading the best offense from last year with the Detroit Lions. Overall, I think he had a pretty good season. Let's go ahead and look at his stats. But from what I remember, he had a pretty good season throwing the ball this year. He's going into his ninth or 10th season this year. He ended up making a Pro Bowl this year, his 5th Pro Bowl. But started in all 17 games, won 9 of them, lost 8 of them. Obviously, wasn't necessarily his fault because he's over here throwing for 34 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, 4,500 yards, 68% completion percentage. I mean, just honestly not having bad. His worst stat is his fumbles lost. He's fumbled the ball 6 times and lost 5 of those fumbles. But you're leading an offense that is coming off being, you're keeping a lot of the pieces, but they're the number one offense in the league last year, and not a bad performance, but you'd expect honestly more from this Detroit team. And overall, this Detroit team really disappointed expectations this season because they were expected to win the NFC North this year, and obviously couldn't get it done. Injuries played a huge factor in that. And that their defense was injured to hell and back, and they lost a lot of key players on the offense as well. But like I said, I don't think the lack of success comes from Jared Goff. I think he had a pretty good season, made a Pro Bowl this season, and so I think he did pretty freaking good considering everything. I'm gonna go ahead and put him in B tier. I think B tier is like kind of like the cutoff for where Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks go, and says Jared Goff missed the playoffs and didn't win very many games. I'm gonna go ahead and put him in B tier. All right, next up we have Jalen Hurts, which is a guy I've kind of doubted throughout the entirety of his career, his stint with Philadelphia. He did do a great job, I know, this season and not turning the ball over for sure. But he's not someone who has a crazy arm that impresses me. I think that's why I don't really bank on him. He started in 6 games, went 11-5, obviously led his team to the playoffs. Didn't throw many touchdowns for someone who started in 16 games, only throwing for 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, which is one of the lowest in the league. I don't know if it is the lowest, but it's one of the lowest in the league this year. I know for a while he had gone without throwing a single interception. I mean, let's look at he went 5 games without throwing a single interception. It wasn't until he played the Giants that he somehow threw one against that fucking defense. Unfortunately, against the Chargers, I don't know what happened here. A complete self-destruction of Jalen Hurts as he threw 4 interceptions in this game. In a game that they still somehow made it to overtime, because that just goes to show how injured the Chargers were and just how great this Philadelphia defense was. I mean, they had a top 10 defense this year. So you got to think like how many of these games were won just based off Jalen Hurts' defense. But you also got to think the offensive coordinator for the Eagles was absolutely fucking atrocious. I'm assuming they probably fired him this year because he was just one of the main factors why this team didn't make it back to the Super Bowl. And they had all the pieces. they needed to make it to another Super Bowl, and yet they still came up short, which is absolutely crazy to me. But Jalen Hurts, I mean, for the amount of games he played, he didn't really get that many yards through the air and didn't get very many touchdowns. I mean, they relied on the tush push, which is probably where 8 of these touchdowns came from, was from the tush push. But, he did have 421 yards rushing, so he did scramble a lot or had some option plays or just design runs. So that's going to bump up his total yards to 3,600. Did he? I don't know if he made a Pro Bowl this year. Willis tell me. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I know he did, or did make the Pro Bowl. But so did fucking Shedeur Sanders. Did he deserve to make the Pro Bowl? I don't know if anybody was better than him this season. Is the thing. So I guess he did. I can't really think of anybody on that cutoff that would have been deserved it more than he did. But Shedeur Sanders got invited to the Pro Bowl, so that goes to show you the fucking standard in which they fucking give it to people anymore. So he made his team to the postseason. He won his division. He won 11 games in the 16 games he was in. Didn't turn the ball over very much. I mean, he did lose. He did fumble the ball 8 times and lost 4 of those, which is pretty bad. But overall, I'll give him. I'll put him at the top of. Actually, I'm gonna put him at the bottom of B. Step above Joe Burrow and Jackson Dart, but not as good as these two up here, or even Jared Goff. I say out of all the people we're putting in B tier, Jalen Hurts might be the worst. Lamar Jackson, come off a season where I think he deserved MVP. Unfortunately, this year he spent a lot of it injured. Tyler Huntley had to play for him a lot of the season. Didn't even make the Pro Bowl as well. Played in 13 games, lost more of the games than he won. He had 21 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, a 63.6 completion percentage, 2,500 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground with 7 fumbles and 3 of them lost. Honestly, not a bad season, but in 13 games, only throwing for 21 touchdowns, I think is a pretty big step back from Lamar Jackson. It's just hard to really tell for players that spent a lot of the season injured. I mean, he was battling a hamstring injury and some other injury that I don't remember, and coming off what I thought was an MVP season was definitely a huge step back. But did have a really good QBR. That's a passer rating. What is QBR at? I don't see his QBR, but this is his passer rating, which is 103.8, which is one of the best in the season. I know he has a career passer rating that is like an NFL record, which beat Aaron Rodgers' career fucking passer rating, but he also took 36 sacks. Now, you gotta think how many of these sacks was due to his offensive line collapsing, or how many of these sacks was due to himself. And it's really hard to say because I feel like with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, who is like just a pure scrambler quarterback, taking 36 sacks is kind of fucking crazy. So who's really to say? I can't go over every single individual sack and say that every one of them was his fault or 100% his offensive line's fault. But 7 sacks against Detroit's kind of crazy on a defense that didn't really play that well this year. It was also about injuries, but I guess that was early in the season. But 6-7 record, starting in 13 games. Honestly, not great. I might have to put him in the Joe Burrow tier. But had he been healthy, I say he's the best out of everyone's C tier. Had he been healthy, maybe he could have been able to lead his team to the postseason and not have been looked at. So let's go ahead and look. I guess we'll do. I guess we'll go in order now. I believe this is Jacoby Brissett, if I'm not mistaken. Jacoby Brissett, who ended up getting the starting spot over Kyler Murray after he got injured. He got soft benched. But despite the fact that Jacoby Brissett was playing pretty decently and was kind of having a resurrection this season, they didn't win very many games with him. He only won 2 of the 12 games he started in after Kyler Murray got soft benched. Threw for 65% completion percentage. I'm pretty sure he set the record for most completions in this game against San Francisco, which they still ended up losing 22-41, which is a pretty significant loss, despite the fact that he completed 47 passes and threw for 452 yards. He did throw 2 interceptions, however. But looking at his stats, he threw for 28 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not too bad. 1 touchdown on the ground. Lost 4 fumbles, though, and took 43 sacks, which is quite a bit of sackage there, man. That's probably why he lost 4 fumbles there, or fumbled the ball 5 times and lost 4 of those fumbles. But 23 to 8 touchdowns, not too shabby. Kind of worse than Lamar in about the same amount of games. I think Lamar Jackson played in 13 games. Jacoby Brissett played in 14 games. And they have pretty similar stats in terms of touchdowns, interceptions, and yards, but he had more sacks and more fumbles lost and more interceptions. Around Lamar in terms of his production this year, I honestly put him below Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow played in less games and had not too terrible stats, but gotta put him in the C tier with the rest of them. Like I said, it's really hard to say because none of these players in the C tier started the entirety of the season. Pretty much everyone C tier and below has not started the entirety of the season. Now there's this guy from the Minnesota Vikings. I couldn't even tell you his fucking name. Minnesota Vikings have been in dire straits this season. I guess it's Max Brosmer. His first season here went 0 for 4 for touchdowns to interceptions, threw for 66% of his passes. Wouldn't really consider this guy eligible for this, but I guess since he's on the list, I'll look at him. Fumbled the ball twice, lost one of those fumbles, threw 4 interceptions for 0 touchdowns, but somehow won 5 of the 2 games he was in. Don't know if he was playing backup or what, or if he was actually starting in these games. But I don't see how you win 5 games throwing 0 fucking touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He didn't score a single touchdown this season. Not one on the ground or one through the air. But turned the ball over 5 times. He had a pretty decent completion percentage, but he didn't throw the ball very much. Nor did he play against any elite defenses other than Cleveland. I guess he did play against Seattle too, which is where he threw those 4 interceptions. But other than that, he didn't really play against any elite defenses, I'd say. But yeah, Max Brosmer. I didn't mean to do that. Max Brosmer, I gotta say, might be our second F tier. That looks like a Cincinnati jersey. I don't know who the fuck this is either. We're getting random ass fucking quarterbacks. Who is this? Because it ain't Joe Flacco. Jake Browning? I don't know why Jake Browning's not even on here. Third string quarterback who played before Shedeur Sanders, I'm assuming, because he played in week 2, 3, 4, 5, and 12. Which I guess he came back in after Shedeur Sanders had some struggles. I'm thinking about the wrong team. This is Cincinnati Bengals, not the fucking Cleveland Browns. I apologize. I guess he was flip-flopping. I guess in week 5 he got replaced by Joe Flacco, and then week 12 Joe Flacco left, so he came back in, and then he got benched again when Joe Burrow came out. Well, maybe not, because he only threw 1 pass that game. But Jake Browning, yeah, didn't really play that great. 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, 771 yards. He had a pretty good game here. Well, not really because he threw as many touchdowns as interceptions, but he threw for 251 yards. I can't even tell you what his best game is because there's not a single game here where he threw more touchdowns than interceptions. He lost all but one of his games, which was against Jacksonville somehow. Somehow they won that fucking game with him starting. Lost to Minnesota in a damn blowout. Lost to fucking Denver in a damn near blowout. And then lost 2 close games, one against Detroit and one against, I'm not drawing blanks, New England Patriots. I don't know why that's the acronym for that, but yeah, anytime you throw more touchdowns or throw more interceptions than touchdowns, you're not really going to be great at anything higher than a C. In my opinion, you're going straight to F, Jake Browning, but better than Max Brosmer, who the fuck that was, because at least you threw some touchdowns. Next up is that a Jets jersey? Once again, don't know who the fuck this is, but we're just gonna take a look at his stats. And I'm just gonna give this guy an F tier. How about that? The only player I could say that kind of looks like him is is Brady Cook, who threw 2 touchdowns to 7 interceptions with a 57% completion percentage. He even lost a fumble on top of that. Yeah, that's not great. Great. It's not Brees Hall either. I'm gonna say it's probably Brady Cook because I know for a fact it's not Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, didn't play great. Probably worst out of all of these. No, I'll put him over. I'll put him over Max Brosmer, who the fuck this guy is. Only because he threw some touchdowns. Looks like the guy plays for the Dolphins. Have no idea who this is. Quinn Ewers. It would be Quinn Ewers. Going in for, I guess, an injured Tua Tagovailoa. Didn't really play very many games, so I don't know why he's in this tier list. Only won one of the games he played in. Threw 3 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. His best game was against the Bucks, where he actually the only game he won. He didn't throw for very many yards, but threw for 2 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. But had a decent completion percentage with 66.3. Can't really be too bad about that. But his production wasn't really that great, considering that he only had 622 yards in 4 games. Was that average out to like less than 200 yards per game? Not great. Usually when I average about 200 yards per game, I'd say at least. I mean, shit. Also fumbled the ball 3 times. Didn't lose any of those fumbles, but fumbled the ball 3 times. And didn't rush for any touchdowns. Just pretty much pretty bad. I ain't gonna lie. Put you like right there, I guess. Okay, it's Dylan Gabriel. We found him. I don't know why the freaking Browns jerseys are so black. Okay, in the 2025 regular season, he only won 1 game through 7 touchdowns and 2 interceptions with a 59.5 completion percentage, which isn't great. And doesn't say anything about fumbles. Only won a game, and that game was against fucking Miami, which isn't really saying much. Wasn't even his best game because he didn't even throw a fucking touchdown that game. His best game was in week 10 against the Jets, which they fucking lost, which is pretty bad considering it's the fucking Jets. Where he threw for 2 touchdowns and 0 picks. Actually, no, I'd say his best game is here against Minnesota, which they lost as well. Where he threw for 2 touchdowns, threw 0 interceptions, but had a pretty measly completion percentage, which only 57%. Ain't great. Threw for 190 yards. 7 for 2 isn't terrible, but not a great completion percentage, and didn't really acquire that many yards. In 10 games, didn't even get 1,000 yards. So I don't know why he's listed on here because he didn't even fucking. So really, it was in these games. 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3 here. So about 5 games he actually played in, and he's threw for 937 yards, which still isn't great because you're not even throwing for 200 yards. You're not even averaging 200 yards per game. In fact, where is his yards per game average? Doesn't say. Yeah, wasn't great. Dylan Gabriel. Yeah, you're going into F tier as well. And Justin Herbert this year, I'm pretty sure made a Pro Bowl. He just won 11 games, made the postseason. About a 50% touchdown to turnover ratio. Well, not really 50%, but 26 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, threw for 3,700 yards with a 66.4% completion percentage. Took a lot of sacks, and especially in that game against New England, where he took 6 sacks there. But the most sacks he took was against Philadelphia, where he took 7 sacks. Fumbled the ball 7 times, with 2 of them being lost, so add that to his turnovers. But also add the 2 rushing touchdowns to his touchdown turnovers, so about evens out a bit. But honestly, not a great season. I'm assuming he made the Pro Bowl this year, and that's why there's a star next to his fucking name. If he did, I don't see him in here. So maybe he didn't make a Pro Bowl. 26 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, I guess isn't bad. But for someone who started in all but one of his games, he was dealing with that hand injury. Like I think he fractured his hand or something. I'm gonna give him. I don't even know, man. I guess the top of C tier. I low key want to give him B, but like I said, it's like the cutoff of the Pro Bowl, and I don't think he made the Pro Bowl this year. I don't know what the star next to this shit means. Oh, so he did make the Pro Bowl this year. I don't know why he wasn't on the fucking roster then. Then here, I'll give him fucking a B. I'm guessing this is Tyler Huntley playing backup for Lamar Jackson. Played in 5 games. Technically 4 because he didn't really play this game. I don't know why it showed up. I guess because he rushed for 3 attempts, and that's literally it. Threw for 77%. Got 2 touchdowns. Didn't throw any interceptions in those 4 games. He won 3 of them. I guess technically he won 2 of them, lost 2. Don't think he fumbled at all because I don't see the stat. He just didn't really play a whole lot. Hard to really judge him. I guess I'll give him D, but the bottom of D because at least he didn't turn the ball over. Had a pretty good completion percentage. I think he, as a coming off the bench, did pretty freaking good. Daniel fucking Jones. Oh my gosh, I could not think of his fucking name. That was before I scrolled down. So coming off the Giants after he had a pretty subpar career with the Giants, he played for the Colts, and at one point was the team that had the longest. I guess not. I could have sworn they had like the longest undefeated streak, but a team that looked like it was going to dominate the AFC South, a team that looked like it was one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl with Jonathan Taylor running the ball very well. You know, I thought was going to be the best rusher this year, but ended up not being the case. But that, they had a lot of momentum, and then shit started going haywire here towards the end of the season, and then Daniel Jones ended up rupturing his Achilles or something along those lines. I'm pretty sure it was a ruptured Achilles after he was fighting a damaged fibular tibia. But throughout the season, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions is not too bad. Close to a 70% completion percentage. Threw the ball pretty well, 3,000 yards in 13 games. Really only 12 games because he didn't really play much during this game. I'm presuming that's when he went down with his injury. But it looked like the season was already falling apart. And I don't know. I'd say he's about C tier. I mean, he had 24 total touchdowns. He did win a lot of games, but he had 24 total touchdowns, 11 total turnovers, fumbled the ball 9 times, lost 3 of those, got sacked 22 times, which ain't too shabby, honestly. The only time he really got sacked was against Atlanta for some reason, which I don't think that team even had a complete like pass rush there. So I don't know why he took so many sacks against that game. But he had a collapse here against Pittsburgh where he threw only 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, which is pretty fucking bad against the defense. It wasn't really that great, and I'm pretty sure they were missing T.J. Watt this game. So I don't know. He's not really Pro Bowl caliber in my opinion. Even if he did stay healthy the entirety of the season, I mean, these are 13 games. You only have 4 more games after this. I guess technically 5. I mean, I guess he could have got another 1,000 yards if he averaged 200 yards. He just didn't have a lot of touchdowns. He did have a lot of yards, but just not a lot of touchdowns in my opinion. He had a decent completion percentage. I guess he would have made the Pro Bowl had he stayed healthy. So I guess I'll give him a B. That's a pretty low B. I'll put him like right here. Don't know who that guy is. This is can't tell if that's Mac Jones or oh my gosh, now I'm drawing blanks again because I suck at fucking remembering names. Or Brock Purdy. It'll be Brock Purdy. So, yet another quarterback who didn't start the entire season. He played 9 games, won 7 of those 9 games, 20 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Had a pretty much right on a 70% completion percentage. Threw for 2,000 yards, lost 2 fumbles, and he rushed for 3 touchdowns. So I'm making that about a total of 23 touchdowns to 12 turnovers. Not too bad, not too shabby, not too shabby. Hard to really project to where he was going. I mean, I guess you could take the averages of his yards per game and put it into how many games he missed, but not really Pro Bowl-esque in my opinion. Don't know if he won the Pro Bowl this year. If he did, I don't think he should have. I didn't see a star next to his name on the stat sheet, but made it to the postseason. Actually, made it to a divisional round game against the Seattle Seahawks. Beat the Philadelphia Eagles, but ended up going to Seattle and getting absolutely hornswoggled where he didn't even throw a touchdown that game. So 1 interception and had a pretty pitiful completion percentage in the postseason. So I'm gonna go ahead and get him a C tier. Oh, it's not Brock Purdy. This is Brock Purdy. I'll go ahead and give you a C tier, my man. Even less than Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. This is Mac Jones, who stepped in for Brock Purdy this year. He did pretty well considering he was coming out of a backup spot. You know, he came out of New England. No one really knew what this guy was made out of. Everyone thought he was not the best, but coming out of the backup spot, I mean, hell, he won 8 of his 11 games he played in. Really, he won 4 of 3, so he really played in 7 games. I don't know why they're counting these as fucking games played. He really won, like I said, 5 of 3, so I guess it was 8 games where he threw 13 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, 2,000 yards, 70% completion percentage. Pretty freaking similar to Brock Purdy in terms of production here. Can't really base it off strength of opponent or anything, but I think if he had caught the starting bid, he would have been just as good, if not better, than Brock Purdy because he was throwing more interceptions per game, but he had a pretty measly performance against Tampa Bay. But 13 touchdowns and six interceptions isn't too bad. Plus 2 lost fumbles and 2,000 yards. I think he did pretty freaking good. I mean, here he threw for 347 yards, threw 2 interceptions, but didn't score a touchdown. So I guess his best game would be either here or here, where he threw for over 300 yards and a few touchdowns as well. But overall, Mac Jones, kind of the same ballpark as Brock Purdy, but slightly less. I actually put him below Joe Burrow. I even put him below Jacoby Brissett, but in the same tier. Here we go. Trevor Lawrence revived the Jacksonville Jaguars into a team that looked like they were going to be competitive, but ended up being a first round exit because they had to face the Buffalo Bills. Ended up going 13-4, had real chance to make the 1 seed in the AFC, but ended up falling short of that. But the thing about Trevor Lawrence is that he was very, very turnover prone throughout the season and didn't even make a Pro Bowl here, according to this. I mean, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions isn't bad, right on 4,000 yards, but had a pretty weak completion percentage, only completing 60%, 61% of his passes. He also lost 3 fumbles in the process, so he had about 15 total turnovers to 29 touchdowns. Had a few great games, even ended up being the Chiefs at the height of their power before they lost Patrick Mahomes, which was kind of like that staple win that ended up turning their season around. I mean, here we got quite a few games, so he was able to win a lot of games, but his stats don't really pop out at you starting 17 games. I mean, he did throw for 4,000 yards, which is pretty freaking good, but like I say, he turned the ball over a lot. Didn't really throw a whole lot of touchdowns neither. I'll give Trevor Lawrence here. Honestly, I think he deserved to be in a Pro Bowl, so I don't know why he didn't get the nod there. I'm actually going to put him between Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts there. Philip Rivers coming back out of retirement, where he was just about to be eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He comes out of retirement to play for the Colts after Daniel Jones goes down, and actually they did pretty good coming straight off his couch and then into the hot seat, which was the Indianapolis Colts season. I think he did pretty freaking well. He ended up being a head coach, but he played in 3 games where he threw for 4 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, 63% completion percentage. Fumbled a couple times, but did not lose any of those fumbles. But 500 yards in 3 games. Ended up putting up a good game against Seattle, but ended up losing all his games. He came out in a pretty bad situation. Is that even Philip Rivers? Who is that? Is that even Philip Rivers? No, it's Riley fucking Leonard. Oh my god. I thought it was Philip fucking Rivers. Yeah, I didn't do great. Threw more interceptions and touchdowns. Had a pretty decent game here. He only really started in 2 games where he threw interceptions in both those games. Yeah, I really don't know. I think Philip Rivers did better than he did. Since we're talking about them both here, I'll put you in F tier around I'm not really thinking of anything particular right there. And then Philip Rivers lost all of his games, but I think he did pretty good considering where he came up. He came off his fucking couch to play. I'm gonna go ahead and put him at the top of F tier. Actually, I'm putting him below Justin Fields. Next up, we have Jordan Love, which throughout the season was top 5 in like a lot of the advanced stats. I think he had a pretty good freaking season, though I am pretty biased, as you know, I'm a Packers fan. But losing in the postseason did kind of hurt, but you know, didn't even get a Pro Bowl nod. Oddly enough, threw for through in really 14 games. He threw for 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 3,381 yards. He lost 2 fumbles. Kind of similar stats to old Justin Herbert and Daniel Jones. He did complete a pretty good portion of his passes, 66%. Threw the ball pretty deep down the field with an 8.13 average yards per attempt. Won 9 games, lost 5, tied once with the old Dallas Cowboys. But I do believe that his stats don't really reflect his on-field play because he do be playing, making some questionable decisions and bad reads and bad throws and all that. So, and then his game against Chicago, even though he threw for 4 touchdowns and didn't throw any picks, he did have a pretty abysmal completion percentage. But also, you got to consider that his receivers aren't the best. I ain't gonna lie, ain't the best receiving core in the league. But off of principle, we're gonna go ahead and give him top of C tier. I don't really think, looking at his season, that he's really a Pro Bowler. I mean, just look at his yards and touchdowns. I can't really tell if it's just so hard to tell when a player doesn't play the entire season. 'Cause I'm like thinking like if he had played this game and like in 3 more games, would he have been able to crack 4,000 yards and had 30 touchdowns? Probably not, honestly. So I'm gonna drop him into C tier. Patrick Mahomes, in a game that he took a huge step back, coming off a season where he took his team to a Super Bowl. Overall in Patrick Mahomes' career, he's had one of the best 10 years for a quarterback you could really ask for, but unfortunately this year he took a step back. Still threw for a lot of yards, but 22 touchdowns, 11 picks. Looks like he didn't fumble. Well, he did fumble, but he didn't lose any of those fumbles. Has some receptions as well. But 62% completion percentage isn't great, but he did throw for a lot of yards, quite a bit of touchdowns, but fortunately did tear his ACL, which is quite unfortunate. But even if he was playing, he didn't even win as many games as he lost. So they were coming off a pretty rough year. I don't even think if he had started, he would have been able to lead the entire season. He would have been able to lead his team to the postseason. So I'm going to go ahead and put him below Brock Purdy and between Brock Purdy and Joe Burrow, honestly. Next up, we have Marcus Mariota, who stepped in for Jaden Daniels, but really didn't make any impact on anything because I don't even know if he won any of the games he was in. He's been in the league for a while, got drafted by Tennessee, and then he kind of hopped around after he lost a job to Ryan fucking Tannehill. Well, for some reason, I can't go to each game he played because every time I click on it, it fucking sits there and buffers. But in the 8 games he played, he won only 2 of those games. Completed 61% of his passes, threw for 10 touchdowns to 7 interceptions for about 1,700 yards, and got sacked 16 times. Doesn't really say what his fumbles are on these stats here, but just looking at the stats right here, I don't really see how he could be anything higher than D, honestly. Kind of in the same boat as Jaden Daniels himself. Didn't win very many games. I'm actually going to put him above. Or no, I'm not actually. Actually, I am. I'm above Kirk Cousins. Honestly, throw Jaden Daniels above him too. But yeah, Marcus Mariota, he played a lot of games because Jaden Daniels was fighting injury, but in those games, he didn't really do anything that would, he played like a backup quarterback, and backup quarterbacks are going to kind of be in this D to C tier kind of area. The real good backups would go up in here, so that's why Mac Jones is up in here and Jacoby Brissett. But, backups, they're typically not going to do very well thrown into a situation like this. So, yeah. We're going to put Marcus Mariota here because he didn't win very many games, and he didn't do really much to win those games. Next up, we have Drake May. Maybe they'll actually fucking let me load now. Obviously led his team to the big game, but a season that had a historically easy schedule. Finally we get a fucking team that had team that had, or a player that had played 17 games. In those 17 games, he had over a 70% completion percentage, which is pretty fucking good. I mean, it's a high completion percentage. Threw for over 4,000 yards, about 4,400 yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, which is pretty good ratio there. Lost 3 fumbles on top of that. So we're talking about double-digit turnovers here. And was sacked 47 times. Average QBR of or a passer rating of 113.5, which is pretty solid overall. It's really hard to tell about Drake May because he had a really easy schedule. I mean, only 2 opponents in the entirety of his season had a record over 500. I mean, we're talking about a player that had to play the fucking Dolphins twice and the Jets twice. I mean, but look at his stats though. He had less than double-digit interceptions. He had 31 touchdowns. Had a crazy good completion percentage. I know he was in the running for MVP this year, so I'm gonna put him on the A tier because he did make a Super Bowl. Despite what he wants to say, he still did make the Super Bowl. He had pretty good stats. But, he was beat up by Sam Darnold, and I think Josh Allen deserved it more than both of them too. The mid-season MVP Baker Mayfield unfortunately was not able to lead his team to the postseason. However, as the three-way tie between them, the Carolina Panthers, and the Falcons kept them out. Baker Mayfield coming into the season seemed like a candidate for the MVP, and then he kind of fell apart halfway through the season, in which inevitably had the collapse of the team itself and made them miss the playoffs. And here we go again with this shit. I don't know if this is my internet or if it's just a website, but clearly this ain't gonna work either. So looking at Baker Mayfield's stats, he played in all 17 games, but he was battling a shoulder injury. I think he did step out of one game, but he lost more games than he won. 26 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, and a 63.2 completion percentage, which isn't great. I think it's one of those lowest completion percentages. I mean, it is the lowest since he's played for since he left Cleveland. This is his lowest completion percentage in Carolina here, but I'm pretty sure he's playing, back up a lot of that game or something. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't keep up with Baker Mayfield after he left Cleveland, but since he's been in Tampa, this is his worst completion percentage and the least amount of yards he's thrown for, and his least amount of touchdowns, about average for his interceptions. So he did definitely take a pretty big step backwards this season, comparing him to the rest of his career. And overall, I think he's pretty C tier here. I think he's going to be kind of like around Brock Purdy levels. At least Brock Purdy made the playoffs, so I'm going to give Brock Purdy the edge over Baker Mayfield, despite Baker Mayfield playing the entirety of his season. He just, you expected him to be in the running for the MVP midway through the season, and then he just kind of collapsed. Next up, we have J.J. McCarthy, man, 9. In a year where Minnesota Vikings quarterbacks kind of sucked, we have J.J. McCarthy, who got injured in his rookie season, so now he's playing in his second year, and as you can see, didn't do very well. I mean, he's throwing under 60%, more interceptions than touchdowns. Fumbled a couple times too, so add that to the turnovers, but he did rush for 4 touchdowns. So I think that actually put his turnovers to touchdowns about even, but he did actually win a few of his games, but I mean, like I said, whenever you're throwing under 60% or throwing for more than, interceptions and touchdowns, and then both of those, I mean, what can I say, man? J.J. McCarthy, not a great season for him. He's going in F. Is this Justin Mills or whatever the heck his name is? Brandon Mills, something like that. He got to play backup for C.J. Stroud. Davis Mills, what his name is. Show is. Looks like this is a guy who's been a perennial backup most of his career. And now he won all the games he started in. He threw for 5 touchdowns, a 1 interception, and 900 yards, but had a pretty terrible completion percentage. Like I said, in terms of backups, I don't really see how you can get over a D tier. At least he won all of his games. I'd actually, even though he played in less games than Marcus Mariota, I'm actually going to give him a step above, not tier above, but like a little step above Marcus Mariota, because Mariota didn't like win like any of his games, but at least Davis Mills won all of his games, did what he had to do as a backup, and I don't think he even threw in any interceptions, did he? He threw one interception in his time, so even though he had a pretty terrible completion percentage, he did pretty decent for a backup, I think. So moving on, we go back to the Cardinals to look at Kyler Murray, who got soft benched by Jacoby Brissett, which in itself is a pretty bad look, if I'm being honest. I mean, once again, we're not fucking loading in, probably because it's fucking running all these fucking ads. Jesus fucking Christ. Yep. I wonder why it's getting timed out. Kind of same thing as Davis Mills, but we're talking about a starting quarterback here that got soft benched by fucking Jacoby Brissett. Do I need to say any more? Do I need to say any fucking more? You're going into F tier, buddy. I'm putting you below Phillip Rivers. I'm putting you below JJ fucking McCarthy, man. Kyler Murray, he ain't playing. He's gonna be a Cardinal next season. I can promise you that. Next up, we have Bo Nixius, the quarterback for the team that had the best record in the AFC, ended up getting the number 1 seed this year, making it all the way to the conference championship, which he didn't play in, but led his team to the conference championship, where he unfortunately, in the divisional round against the Bills, blew his fucking ankle out, which is fucking insanity. But okay, once again, we're talking about once again, it's not letting me load his stats, so I don't know what's going on with this fucking website. I think it's the fucking obsessive amount of ads that they won't let me fucking block. Or that fucking tier list maker won't let me fucking block. Anyway, looking at his stats here for the 2025 campaign, he threw for 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Can't really see how many fumbles he had or lost or rushing touchdowns, but he threw for 63. He completed 63% of his passes and just under 4,000 yards, which, to be honest, isn't really that great considering that he started in every single game, but he did just enough to win games, and that needs to be addressed there. I mean, I've addressed it for every quarterback who had mediocre stats but won a lot of games. I mean, this is a quarterback for a team, like I said, made it all the way to the conference championship. Unfortunately, lost because he wasn't there. I think if he was there, if Bo Nix had started instead of fucking I can't even think his fucking name. If he had started over a backup, I think they would have won that game pretty handedly. So I'm going to go ahead and give Bo Nix here a just above Jordan Love or just below. I'm gonna give him above because, like I said, he won more games than Jordan Love, and despite having slightly worse stats, I mean, like I said, they made it to the conference championship. Jordan Love didn't. He made, he had a better record than Jordan Love. Chris Oladokun is the man after Gardner Minshew got injured, and in the 2 games he started in, he lost both those games. Threw 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, averaged like just over 100 yards and 63% completion percentage. Yeah, he might not turn the ball over very much, but he didn't do very good. We're gonna put him like right here. I'm sorry, I can't load these stats right now. I don't know fucking why. All right, we're skipping this going down the list, and we're gonna go with quarterbacks I know. So next up we got Dak Prescott. I'm tired of going over fucking quarterbacks that played fucking 2 games. I might just say fuck it and not even rate them, because who honestly fucking gives a shit. Next up we have Dak Prescott, which is another quarterback who looked like he was gonna be in the race for MVP. I mean, 4,500 yards. He made the most completions this season, I believe. Threw for 30 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Not too fucking shabby. 63% completion percentage. Overall, I think he had a pretty, almost a career season for him. I mean, threw I think the most or the second most yards in his career. He just didn't win very many games, and who's really to say? I mean, he made a Pro Bowl. I don't know what to say. He didn't throw very many interceptions. He threw for 30 touchdowns, almost 5,000 yards, close to the most amount of yards this season, and completed a pretty good percent of his passes. So I think Dak Prescott, probably just between Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts. Had he won more games, I'm kind of probably be leaning more towards here, but he did make a Pro Bowl. He did pretty good. So that's where we're gonna go. Next up, we got Aaron Rodgers this season. I like how every time I come back, this shit fucking flipped back over. Aaron Rodgers is at a pretty rough part of his career. I mean, ever since leaving Green Bay, he hasn't really been the same. And even when he played for Green Bay, his last season wasn't really up to par where he was. He won back-to-back MVPs here and made a Pro Bowl and all that. But here at Pittsburgh, he had a pretty decent season after starting 16 games through 24 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, 3,300 yards, led his team to the postseason uh, after having a 10-6 record, and kind of did it. He took a step. I mean, I guess it was about the same as when he played for the Jets. He threw for more yards, but had a better completion percentage playing for Pittsburgh. But um, Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career, he's not even making Pro Bowls at this point. I'd say he's probably just like right here. Out of all the court, I think out of all the quarterbacks who started the entirety of the season, he's probably one of the worst. I mean, he's better than Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, but I mean, he didn't throw very many interceptions. He led his team to the postseason, won 10 games. But, kind of disappointed to see Aaron Rodgers kind of fall off after leaving Green Bay. Who else we got? I guess we'll do Shedeur Sanders next because he's just kind of staring at me. I really just wish the fucking website would fucking work. I'm not going to mention the fact that he made a Pro Bowl because he threw more interceptions than touchdowns, threw for less than 60%, 1,400 yards, and lost a fumble. I'm not even going to really talk about this motherfucker, bro. Fucking F tier. Anytime, like I said, anytime you throw more fucking interceptions than touchdowns, you're going to the F. Matthew Stafford, what's there to say? He won the MVP, had an amazing season. Unfortunately, he lost in the conference championship against the, I guess, more complete team. He led the number one offense, but he lost to the more complete team in the end against the Seattle Seahawks. But since he won MVP, I think that's reason enough to give him S tier this year. I mean, he was the best player in the league this year. Next up, we have C.J. Stroud, who led his team to a pretty good freaking record, all things considered. But his postseason collapse cannot be understated. Threw for a pretty solid percentage, threw for a pretty good amount of yards, won 9 of his 14 games, only threw for 8 interceptions, but I wish they could show me the fucking stats for the postseason. Here we go. In the postseason this year, he threw only 2 touchdowns to 5 interceptions and barely completed 50% of his passes. So, if we look at the regular season, he's probably like a high C to probably just a high C to be honest, or maybe a low B. He'd be at the bottom of the B or like towards like probably between like honestly probably if I'm talking about regular season only, I'd probably put him like between Brock Purdy or maybe Brock Purdy and Lamar or Brock Purdy or Baker Mayfield. But damn, did he fucking shit the bucket in the postseason? And I can't. At least he made it to the postseason, but I can't. I mean, like I can't. Two interception or 2 touchdowns to 5 interceptions is pretty fucking terrible. Is that fucking Deshaun Watson? Did bro even play? Here we go. We got our starting quarterback. We got Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams had a very, very good season compared to his last one. He's only in his second year and he's been playing pretty freaking good. His completion percentage, though, isn't great. Just throwing the ball under 60% is never good, but he didn't throw very many interceptions, just over 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And just the magic he's able to do in the backfield this year. I mean, he took significantly less sacks coming off last season where he led the league in sacks. He then comes this year and only gives up 24, which is one of the lowest sack numbers I've seen out of all the quarterbacks we've gone over so far who started in 17 games. So that is a tremendous improvement over the past, over last year, his rookie season. But his sophomore campaign is pretty much an improvement in every statistic other than completion percentage, where he did take a pretty noticeable step back. I mean, I guess not noticeable, but didn't really improve upon that at all. But he did win 11 out of his 17 games, made his way to the postseason, beat the Green Bay Packers. My Packers, where he played pretty phenomenal. But he did throw more interceptions than touchdowns, and had a pretty terrible complete percentage. So he's not really Pro Bowl caliber in my opinion, but he's still pretty freaking good. And he has some really crazy arm talent in my opinion. People say he's better than Jordan Love, but based on what I've seen and everything, yeah, I don't think so. I personally don't think he's better than Jordan Love. All right, who else is are we looking at here? I guess we can look at Bryce Young. All right, we got Bryce Young here. 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 63% completion percentage, just over 1,000 yards passing. He started in 16 games. Came out even on those games, 8 for 8. Took 27 sacks. Just looking at his stats, I mean, he did make the playoffs just barely, but his team did have a losing record. Not because of him, because like I said, the games he started, came out about even, but yeah, not really someone I'd say who is anywhere near Pro Bowl caliber. Probably going to put him like around Baker Mayfield. Probably slightly worse than Baker Mayfield, in my opinion. Just going off the fact that I say he's better than Patrick Mahomes only because Patrick Mahomes wasn't going to make the playoffs even if he had started. But at least Bryce Young was able to make the playoffs. If that makes sense. All right, who else we got? We got Carson Wentz. I'll go over Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis as a backup has secured his ability to play for his own team. I'm assuming he's probably not going to be here next season. I mean, just looking at his stats as a backup, hasn't thrown a single interception, playing second fiddle to Jordan Love. Here he threw 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in those games he started, and 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the games this season he started. So I think as a backup, he's probably one of the best. Just looking at him throughout the season as a Packers fan, definitely one of the better backups. He won a lot of the games he started in. He did pretty much all he could in his power. And to be honest, in the games he did start, I don't know if Jordan Love would have made that much of a difference in those games. But it's really just hard to say because of just how little he's played. You know what I mean? So we're going to put him worse than Jacoby Brissett. But we're going to put him probably like the bottom of C tier. I think out of all the backup quarterbacks, maybe other than Mac Jones and Jacoby Brissett, he played the best. Ooh, never threw an interception. Had a pretty decent completion percentage. I mean, here 85% of his passes are getting completed. I mean, he's definitely going to be on his own team next season, I think. I mean, if not, then that's just a complete waste of his talent because he's playing fucking amazing. Ever since leaving the Titans, he's played pretty phenomenally. So I think he should have another chance on his own team. All right, next up, I guess we'll do Russell Wilson. I guess we'll do all these fucking quarterbacks. I was on the fence about doing all these quarterbacks because I'm at an hour and a half, but I suppose we'll give everyone their fair shake. We're already this deep anyway. We got Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, a player that has had his MVP bids. Never made an MVP, I don't believe, but with Seattle, won a Super Bowl, made it to 2 Super Bowls, multiple Pro Bowls, but nowadays, ever since he left Seattle, he just hasn't been the same guy, man. Now we're looking at his 2025 regular season, and he's throwing just as many touchdowns and interceptions, a pretty bad completion percentage, and as far as backups go, didn't really show off his talents as what he used to be. And honestly, yeah, right there, Russell Wilson, worse than Joe Flacco, I think, was throwing the ball crazily and terribly, and it's just a crazy fall from grace for Russell Wilson. He should probably honestly just retire because I don't think he's ever going to be at the level he was with the Seattle Seahawks. I guess we'll do Carson Wentz next. Carson Wentz, he played for Minnesota, did he not? Carson Wentz, the quarterback that could have been a Super Bowl championship. I guess he technically is a Super Bowl champion, but just was never able to put it all together, never was able to avoid injury. And now he's playing backup for Minnesota where he's not really didn't even really play great. 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions is never a great stat. 1,000 yards passing in 5 games, I guess, isn't terrible. And he had a decent completion percentage, but turned the ball over pretty regularly, it seemed, this year. And took quite a bit of sacks. Only playing 5 games, took 19 sacks. That's pretty bad too. So Carson Wentz, yeah, not great. I guess I'll put him in. We'll put him like right here. Honestly, not great. Jameis Winston, as a personality, he definitely is a great character. What team did he even fucking play for? I don't know why he's on this list. I mean, I love me some Jameis Winston. I think he's fucking hilarious. But this year he threw as many touchdowns as interceptions. Even though in 2 games he did throw for a lot of yards. He started in 2 games and threw 567 yards, which is pretty decent. 250 yards per game. He has no real place in this league anymore, unfortunately. We're gonna put him like right here. We got Deshaun Watson for some reason. I don't remember Deshaun Watson even playing this year. Why is Deshaun Watson even on? Is this not Deshaun Watson? I mean, just F. I mean, fuck. He quit on his team. I don't know why I'm even trying to think about it. I guess we'll get into Cam Ward now. We haven't looked at the Titans yet, but we got Cam Ward, who in his rookie campaign didn't really do great, but he was also put in a situation that was pretty abysmal. I mean, he got sacked 55 times. Is he going to let me look at his stats now? Nope. Oh, yeah, it is. In 17 games, he threw for 15 touchdowns, which is not great, like at all. Threw for under 60%, and 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, lost of 7 fumbles, and got sacked 55 times. Even though he was thrown into a pretty shitty situation, it's really hard to say, but just based on his stats, he was probably an F tier. I mean, turned the ball over a lot, had a sub 60% completion percentage, didn't throw very many touchdowns. Put him in the top of F for me. Tyler Shough was in the running for Rookie of the Year this year, but I can see why he didn't get it. 67% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns to 6 picks. QBR of only 48%. I mean, he was in the voting for Offensive Rookie of the Year, but in my opinion, didn't really deserve it with those stats. I mean, he only started in 9 games, so I guess you gotta give him some credit there, but I don't know if he would do much better. I guess we'll see next season. I'll go ahead and put him in D. I'll put him above CJ Stroud because Jesus Christ, I still can't. I can't get that. I can't wash the taste. I can't wash that taste. I guess I'll put him over Kirk Cousins. I can't wash the taste of fucking what CJ Stroud did in the postseason off my mouth. I'm guessing this is Andy Dalton. It doesn't even look like Andy Dalton though. Andy Dalton plays for the Panthers, if I'm not mistaken, as backup to. I mean, he started 1 game. Why is he on this fucking list? Jesus Christ, he played 1 game. I mean, am I supposed to judge his fucking what he's done based off 1 game? He threw 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 293 fucking yards. I mean, Jesus Christ. Okay, Geno Smith. After a lot of people thought that he was going to come back from Seattle after having a pretty decent season with them and come back and lead the Raiders to glory. Didn't really happen. I believe this highlight means he threw the most interceptions this year with 17. 19 touchdowns, 67% completion percentage. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, anytime you're throwing the leading league in picks, it's not a good look. I mean, his team went 2-13. He didn't play good at all. Couldn't win games. Threw a lot of picks. Just regressed in like every facet from his Seattle days and 15 games. Yeah, we're gonna give that. We're gonna give you an F tier. One of the worst starting quarterbacks. Probably. Yeah, one of the worst. I'm just gonna say one of the worst starting quarterbacks this season. I've seen a lot of black jersey. I'm assuming that's. Alright, I've got Kenny Pickett. Yeah, also played fucking terrible. He only won 1 game when he started. Lost the other. Threw 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions. Only 188 yards. 62% completion percentage. Yeah. Also, just didn't play fucking good. Honestly, at this point, we're like an hour and a half in. I'm about to start all the backup because I know all these motherfuckers are backups. I'm guessing this is Tyrod Taylor, Yeah, Tyrod Taylor, you know, he used to play for Buffalo for a little bit, play for Baltimore. Damn, I did not know he played this fucking much. Threw as many interceptions as he did touchdowns, 779 yards. Had the one of the worst completion percentages in his career. Yeah, not great. Not great for Mr. Tyrod Taylor. Also getting thrown in F tier. He'll put you around like Jameis Winston and Shadur Sanders tier. All right, who else we got? Have we done Garner Minshew yet? Nah, he's not even on here. Surprisingly, because fucking Andy Dalton played one fucking game, and they don't have fucking Garner Minshew on here. We got Tua turned the ball over, which is who this guy is. Honestly, Tua isn't even like terrible. He's just very injury prone. But I think Miami has way too much faith in him, giving him the big ass contracts because he just has not proven that he's been able to stay healthy, nor has he proven that he's like a top dog. I mean, other than in the 2023 season, but where they went 11-6, but here he played in 14 games, couldn't stay healthy, like I said, constantly in their concussion protocol, and he seems to take quite a bit of sacks. I mean, I guess not really, but he's just injury prone. And this season he turned the ball over a lot. I mean, this is his career most interceptions thrown with 15. Only threw about 20 touchdowns in 14 games, which I guess isn't great. Like not great at all because he's not even averaging 2 touchdowns. I'm trying to think like math in my head, but only 2,600 yards. Yeah, Tua, not great. Not what you want to see. Honestly, if Jackson Dart's up here, I'm gonna put Tua up here too. We're gonna put him like right there. And then there was 4. I have no idea who any of these guys are. Yeah, I have no idea who these 4 are. If y'all want to let me know and enlighten me, go ahead. But I'm putting them all in F tier because I literally don't even know who they are, and I'm tired of looking for them. Anyway, guys, here's my list. I only have one S tier this season. I feel like the quarterbacks that play this year kind of took a pretty big step back compared to the years prior. But I gave the MVP Matthew Stafford the top spot. Josh Allen the best in A tier. Sam Darnold and Drake May both in A tier because they made it to the Super Bowls respectively, and they had pretty good seasons. Obviously, you have to make it to the Super Bowl. And then here we got a lot of Pro Bowlers or players that should have went to the Pro Bowl, and here we got some mid quarterbacks and good mid, kind of like mid to like decent starting quarterbacks to like really good backups. And here, pretty much down here is these like backups and like terrible starting quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, for example, is one of those, but mostly backups and you know or rookies or starters that played bad. But anyway, here's my tier list, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video as always. Oh my god, this took forever to make. It's like an hour and 40 minutes. It's probably gonna be an hour video once I get done editing it, which I haven't done an hour video in so fucking long. But I want to go over most of the quarterbacks. I just got frustrated and didn't do the last 4. I really don't even know who the fuck they are. I went from team to team. I could not fucking find them. But here's my list of the quarterbacks. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys in another one. Peace.